You're now listening to the Zod and Drea podcast.
And we're back, everybody.
All right, we did not leave you with this December 11th on a Tuesday. Another round of Zod and Drea podcast for you.
And I can't talk. What number series is this?
This is now number 136, podcast episode number 136.
Podcast episode. So, yeah, thanks for listening for the 136th time.
Yeah, for real. So for any other episodes you have not checked out, because we have a lot of topics, a lot of things that you may be interested in, and it's always good for your listening. Make sure you go to zodanddrea.com because you can go and click on the podcast episodes at the top and listen to every single one that we have. They're all listed nicely and neatly for you, and I think that you would find every single one of them interesting.
Extremely interesting.
All of them.
What do we got going on today? So we've got a really good subject, I think. It's going to be, main topic is, how can legalizing prostitution be considered beneficial?
Well, that was early.
Oops, I did do
How
it
was
too
your
early.
week?
I'm so sorry. I thought I saw the timer was on a different time.
Okay, let me move my mic.
There we go. Okay.
Bull.
So, yeah, back to that. Yeah, week was great. How was yours?
Yeah, the week was really good. So obviously we did a lot of things, and we got back situated over here in Arizona. Make sure everything was straight. But man, we had to catch up on our sleep. It's fun going over all the stuff that we did on our trip.
And didn't you have somebody come visit you?
Yeah, so shout out to my cousin Lori. She didn't come visit me. She was actually here in Phoenix for a conference, and it was good to see her because I hadn't seen her in, God, like 12 years. I mean, I can't believe that time had gone by that fast. But I hadn't seen my cousin, so she came for a conference, and so we were able to hang out first Friday. She got to see what we did, and she said that she also listens to the podcast. So shout out to Lori. Thanks for listening, and make sure that this shout out is for you.
Yes, it is.
All right, so now let's talk about what we have going on. First, let's talk about the little subjects. In relationships,
we'll talk about Christmas, preparing for the holidays.
Yeah, so in entertainment, we are going to talk about European food versus the American food because while we were over in Europe, we were definitely noticing nuances in the preparations of their meals versus how we do ours over here in the States. And it really leads to a lot of questions. So we're going to talk about that. And what's the main topic?
Going back now, how can legalizing prostitution be considered beneficial, especially in this country?
So let's go to preparing for the holidays right quick. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you something. I haven't prepared jack for the holidays. Oh, you know what? I did.
What?
I don't know if you saw on Amazon, but I had bought like 3 things. So I don't know who I'm going to give them to. but
Surprise.
But I bought 3 things on Amazon. I'm like, wow, that's cheap. I'm going to get somebody that. I might get a few more. I think they're getting delivered today. But I'm preparing for the holidays. Otherwise, there is literally nothing festive in our place.
I know. And, this is going to be our 3rd Christmas together. You realize that. And usually by this time, we've had the tree up, we've got stuff going on. But with all the travels and with so much stuff going on with work and our projects, I'll be happy if we can just get some lights up this weekend because we have so many commitments too, and that's what's really cool. I mean, it's a great thing. We have so many commitments and so many people we want to see. So by the time we get home, we're beat. We're just exhausted. But again, maybe the lights wouldn't hurt. I know that's the one thing I do like is the lights and at least the smell of pine. But I don't mean I want to spray the house down with a bunch of that pine in a can. That'd be kind of gross.
Yeah, no, I don't want that. I do want to make sure that we try to get the tree at least. But the thing is, we got to go 30 miles up north in order to get our tree, and we just never have had the time. And it's funny, all we gotta do is just pick it up and come back. But I don't know how we're gonna do it or when we're gonna do it. Plus, it's huge. But I guess we'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
We haven't even done we usually do an annual Zod and Drea postcard, for mailing out to people our Christmas cards, and we haven't done any of that. Now the good thing is the printers can usually print them up really fast. It's just we would have to go and get them done, edited, printed, and sent. But
and believe us, we're not a bunch of Grinches.
No, no, we're not a bunch of Grinches or anything. It's just we've got a lot going on this time around in this year. I mean, last year we had the tree up like right after Thanksgiving. Remember that?
That's right.
But in our Zod and Drea spirit, as we usually are, very giving people, right after we had our Christmas, we donated the tree to Goodwill. So that's why we don't have a tree. We usually have a little pop-up tree that we put up. We don't go and get the stuff that has bugs and stuff in it and throw it in the apartment because
The squirrel.
and chipmunks in it. We don't need that. Plus, the cats would go crazy over it. And the vacuuming.
No.
Anyway, so we got another one that we have up, but it's up north, and we have to just go and grab it. And unfortunately, it is not here. So if you look at our place, it probably still looks like Halloween for all we know, because we have.
I may have some skulls.
I'm telling you, you know what? That's going to be our Christmas, but we're going to try and figure it out.
Yeah, we will. We will. One thing I am looking forward to, though, kind of a tradition in my family that we try to do, if not every year, maybe every other year, is make menudo. So my sister and I are going to be with my mom and use her recipe to make menudo. For those of you that don't know what menudo is, it's a soup that has hominy and tripe, beef tripe.
Mm-hmm.
It's smelly to make, but it is, by the time it's done, it's a great soup. I'm not a huge fan of the panza, which is the meat, but I'll probably make a pozole on the side as a substitute, which is pork, which is ground pork and hominy. But that's a pretty fun thing that we like to do because, it usually takes an all-day process, but this way, we can gossip, we can have a good time and just hang out.
Right. And that'll be good. I think my family's going to be coming into town, so that'll be good because it's like a once-a-year tradition almost. Everybody flies out to Arizona, number one. New Jersey has cold weather, and Arizona has really nice, tepid weather over here in the wintertime, so it's always a better time to visit Arizona at this time. So nobody ever really complains. The only crappy thing is it's usually only for a few days, so you only get to see your family for a few days, and they usually like to spend it with the parents. Every once in a while they come down here, hang out with us, but they usually stay, again, 30 miles up north, so, it's harder to get all the way down here to actually have the fun, and instead they're stranded and they just sleep anyway. But it's usually good to see them. I got to see if my aunt's going to be coming this year. I don't know if she is.
Oh, that'd be cool.
She usually comes every year, so I haven't heard any word about it. Shoot, I don't even know when my parents are coming. But it'll be good to see family. So this is that time of year that's like bittersweet. It's like, okay, yeah, I love seeing my family, but then it's like, God, I'm so sick of buying things for people all the time at this time of year just because you feel like you have to. That's like my whole thing I can't stand. For me, I love buying things for people just because it's there. It's like, oh, it's Thursday. That's cool. Whatever. They probably like this. But then it's like, oh, it's Christmas. Shoot, I better hurry up and buy people stuff because then I'll be judged for not getting them something. Oh, God, it just annoys the hell out of me.
The pressure.
I'm telling you. I'm just getting everybody Starbucks. So, anyway,
they like that.
That's Christmas. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that as it gets closer to the time. Next podcast, we'll have something a little deeper. Let's talk about the next topic, which is European food versus American food. So give me your take on what you feel now that you've had a chance to go overseas and experience it.
Right. So this is a continuation of the high from the trip that we had because this was something I took away immediately and tried to implement then with us right when we came home. And what I noticed is that throughout the 3 countries that we visited, every meal came with some type of salad and not just like some nasty
some dry ass iceberg lettuce,
yeah,
and 2 tomatoes.
That's it, or like a shred of a carrot or something. This was an actual like salad with a vinaigrette dressing. It was really interesting to see that and it took a good portion of your plate. So that's when I thought that makes sense. Maybe it's just me forgetting that you always have some type of green with your meal. So that's something I took away with. But I also noticed though, the food there is heavy, as far as carbs, bread is a staple in almost every meal that we had in every country. But what was different was the type of bread. We noticed, especially in Germany, the bread that they are famous for is a dense, dark bread. I mean, this sucker is dense. There is no fluff. There is no what do you call it when you touch it, like softness to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard, dense bread, but yet it doesn't have any sugar in it, and it's delicious still too. So you can make like a sandwich with it or have some spread. But what we found is that the sugar is not placed in this bread and in a lot of the foods that they have, the spreads, the meats. They just don't use a lot of sugar, and if they do use sugar, it's like the pure cane sugar.
Yeah, see, the one thing you're gonna do is you're gonna have a hard time finding Splenda, Sweet and Low, things like that over there. In some of these European countries, especially the ones that we went to. Uh, they they like real food. They like real food. And if you look at these people, and I swear on everything, just be in there in a day in the life of someone over there in Europe, and then do the same thing over here in the United States. I remember, like 10 years ago or so, I was on Champs-Élysées over in Paris, and I was playing a game called Spot the American, because you were so easily able to spot the bigger people in the crowd and know that they were just American, because you did not see that there in Paris. Like, you just didn't. And it's not that everybody worked out, even though everybody walked everywhere. Just like
walked. They just walked.
Yeah, just like in New York City, it's a walking city. When you have a really good metro system, when you have really good sights to see, whether the weather is cold or not, sometimes you just want to be outside. And they have they're more accustomed to being outside and doing that. So, they have these little cafes where, yeah, they may smoke and stuff, but man, when you don't have sugar in everything, like we do, and if you don't believe me, then go ahead, go find some bacon over at the store and look at the ingredients. Anything that you say that is not, sugar, you'll see fructose or sucrose or some OSE word that is sugar-based. Another thing that they also do is, in their eating habits, they have smaller portions.
Yes. Hence the plate. The plates were smaller.
The plates were smaller. They have smaller portions, so they like to eat, and but they don't have to stuff themselves. It's not about stuffing themselves. It's about just eating and enjoying the meal that's in front of you. And when you have pure foods, naked foods, you don't have to kill yourself, and then you eat that, and then you pretty much walk somewhere or bike somewhere, and then you work it off, and then you go and eat a little bit later. But shopping is not a big deal to just go and buy something every day, really, for your meal, because you're going to wind up eating it.
I also noticed, too, there were no condiments on the tables. The only condiment that I saw was in Germany, and that was vinegar, and maybe salt and pepper. That was it. But in France, I didn't see any, even salt and pepper at the table.
That's interesting. I don't know. I didn't notice. I didn't need it because I didn't put any on.
You didn't, and I remember looking around like, there really isn't anything. And again, because it wasn't really needed, but it was just something that I noticed. And I noticed it in Amsterdam too. I didn't really need it, but vinegar was definitely there.
Yeah. So anyway, if you get a chance, tell us what you think. If you've gone overseas.
Please listen carefully.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Zod.
And I'm Drea.
And we want you to check out the Zod and Drea podcast every Tuesday.
Where can everybody find us at?
You can always check us out on www.zodanddrea.com.
Where else?
You can always check us out also on Facebook at Zod and Drea.
Instagram?
Zod and Drea.
Snapchat?
Zod and Drea.
YouTube?
Zod and Drea.
I see a pattern.
So if you haven't caught that, catch us at Zod and Drea on all the social networks. But also, make sure you subscribe to the Zod and Drea podcast. Where?
At zodanddrea.com.
And also on YouTube and iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. We're coming for you.
Let us know what you think. And if you want to be a guest, reach out to us.
And put all of your input into whatever our topics are for the week. So we hope to check you out and see you there.
Bye.
And we are back.
All right, so let's talk about this. Now, this was your topic that you wanted to pick out. So this is how you're going to go with it.
Yes.
I'll let you lead.
So this was a topic that I wanted to discuss because, again, from our European trip, especially in Amsterdam, prostitution is legal there. And so it got the whole idea of legalizing the oldest trade in the world. Like, it's been around for centuries, and it will remain. So thinking about what the benefits are if it were to be legalized in the United States. So I started to look around and do some research. And in Amsterdam, it was 2000 is when they actually made it legal. And the parties that supported the legalization of prostitution Our goal was to make sure that the workers were given permits, because once they get permits, they can unionize, they can get taxed, really. So, of course, the government thinking, why not? This is another way for them to get resources by finally taxing this type of industry that was going to happen anyways, right? So, after 8 years of having this legalized, then it said about $100 million was generated in taxes. Well, actually, I'm sorry, $100 million was generated, but they were able to tax on that just from the type of sexual exchange and currency. Now, in the United States, people forget, in Nevada, it is legal. But it's not legal in the cities, like in Vegas or in Reno. It's in like some bohunk outsourced city outside of Nevada where, as we know, the Bunny Ranch is, and where, what was his name? The basketball player almost died.
Oh, God, the Laker, Odom.
Odom, there we go.
Lamar
Odom. Where he almost died having a great time there.
Yeah, for real.
And I guess, too, was it just this year the owner ran for mayor?
Or something. Yeah, he ran for something and won, but except he was dead.
He's dead. So, but that is the only state in the United States and only portion of the United States where it is legalized. I didn't do too much research on like how they've been successful or how it has at all even been successful for them. But it makes you wonder then, why not protect these workers? Why not have this type of industry legalized? What do you think?
I obviously think that people should have, or I should say society should have legalized prostitution, just like they should have legalized weed. I don't think that it's a problem. I don't think it's a menace to society. I think that that's just a burden placed upon the people in order for governments to control you. Everyone has sex. So everyone has sex, but what? Once money is exchanged, then it's going to be an issue. Now, I understand where age is an issue. I even understand that there have been concerns where maybe human trafficking can be, become an issue. But if it's monitored, human trafficking is already going on. Okay, so it's already going on, and people are already paying for sexual favors. So think of it this way. Webcams. You and I always talk about webcam, the webcam industry, where men and women go on their computers and they wind up doing this. Just because you cannot touch somebody, what is the issue? Why is it that a difference when money is exchanged for sexual favors? Just because, does that mean that a man who is blind, who feels upon a stripper, even strippers, I mean, is it because you can see what you're doing or you can feel what you're doing? Is that what the problem is? Is that the human engagement that becomes the issue why it should be illegalized? Instead, people want to criminalize people for doing things that they do anyway. So if it's between two people and someone wants to do a monetary exchange for sex, why is that anybody else's business? It makes no sense to me. If somebody wants to smoke weed in their house because they bought some weed, why is that someone else's business where the police or the criminal justice system has to be involved? It doesn't. And all it does is it fills up prisons, it fills up jail cells, for the most minute and idiotic reasons. It's like, what did you want to do? Well, I wanted to have sex. Oh, well, you should have just gotten a girlfriend. You shouldn't have to pay for it. And it's a shame, and, I've never slept or paid a prostitute for, sex. I've never done that. But anyone who has done that, I wouldn't shame them for it. It doesn't make sense for me to judge them for that. Why? Because it's something I didn't do. What does that have to do? Like, what is it? Sometimes a thrill is a thrill. And I think people pay for those thrills. If people are allowed to pay for zip lining thrills, what else? They're allowed to skydive. So you're allowed to put your life in jeopardy by jumping out of a plane. But for whatever reason, you're allowed to jump into a car and go place to place, and that's perfectly fine. But then having sex is just too much. I mean, let's face it. They put the burden on the woman. The burden is on the woman in this country. And, in Europe, like, all right, so you and I are definitely going to go back, regardless. We are definitely going to go back. And one of the things we have to do is either hit Spain or hit France or even Germany or something, whatever, where we can go to like a beach. And if you look on those beaches, you see people who are either naked or half naked. And it's even
okay there.
Even at the gym. The gym, I've been to a gym in Germany. You go to the sauna and men, women, everybody just piled up into the sauna. I mean, just nude, legs spread, everything, because everyone is in there for themselves. If you see, you see. What are you going to do? Take a picture? You're in there for yourself. After 3 minutes of like, wow, this is bugged out, it's like, oh, I'm comfortable. And then all of a sudden, the heat hits you. You don't care. When you're on a beach, it's the same thing. You don't care when you're naked. It's like, because everyone else is. So if we can drop that stigma in the United States and the fact that the burden is on the woman, let's just face it, women are not allowed to be topless in most cities here. In New York City or in New York State, yes, but in most other places, you are not allowed to be. You get arrested for showing what is naturally born and birthed, to you. Because why? Because men find it arousing. So if men find it arousing, if they get aroused and they didn't mean to, that means it's criminalized upon the woman. So I think that prostitution is the same thing, because I'll bet you money they won't really criminalize the man for doing it.
No, they never do.
They're going to criminalize the woman. So that's my.
They'll shame
my
the man, but criminalizing is different.
Yeah.
And that, he can still go home to his wife in the white picket fence house and be just fine. But that's always been, though, the history of women, though, since the beginning of time. What was the one way to punish a woman or discredit a woman back in biblical time? You label her a prostitute.
Yeah, give her the A.
Yeah, you shamed her. So it's really this kind of centuries and centuries long change of conversation and view of sexuality as removing the power from it and really just looking at it as, this is a human act and it's gonna happen. But by criminalizing it, you add another element of power to it that is removed from the woman of how she can make a living. I was really empowered to see all these women in Amsterdam just take it on. Like, yeah, this is what I do for a living. And I'm protected, and I got to pay taxes, and I got to get a license for it.
Yeah,
like
it's a job.
Like,
it literally is treated as a job.
This
it's like,
is my
because
job.
it is, and they protect their jobs. Like, oh, don't take pictures of me or whatever, because it's still, they still don't want their family and everybody else knowing, because a lot of them are from different countries and things. So it's not like they even know it's not the most proud job to have. But God, we were over there where I mean, there are sex shows over there.
There's all kinds of things
like where you can watch people have sex, but it's weird when watching have sex it's like, as long as you don't do it.
Right. And then get caught, and then we'll have to go to prison for it. Like,
yeah.
Prison.
Like,
really? Prison.
Really? Like, you're going to imprison me for having sex? Like, for what?
So looking at, like, why couldn't we then legalize that here? Why? Because what would be the worst thing? Why didn't the United States, couldn't we legalize prostitution? Would the Bible Belt and would the religious leaders just go nuts and try to restrict it? Like, oh, this is going to be I was reading about one evangelist was saying it would demoralize the sanctuary of marriage, and more people are going to get divorced, and it would increase immorality among Americans. I'm like, look, Americans are already immoral. Okay, look at our president. So we've already got that issue already kind of, squashed. But it would take away then all of this stigma, and you could tax it, and people could be protected.
Again, if people do it for weed and they found that it's just fun, like, the more you hold people against something or you try to restrict them from it, it's almost like a daughter who was raised by a preacher. No, you're not going to do this. Yes, you're going to wear this skirt. Yeah, you're going to wear this all the way down here. Then you're going to do that. And all her friends get to do whatever they want. Oh, you're going to do that. What do you think is going to happen when she goes to college? Like, she's going to, everything that she was told no for, she is going to do. And she's going to do it and earn her liberties. That's just what you're going to do. You try and hold a society back for too long, they're going to explode into it. And that's what happens anyway. How many people are busted for prostitution right now? How many people have been busted forever? They have vice squads just for this. So police have their own squads for this. But if you only legalize it, then these cops could actually go find some crime, people who murder people and beat other people up. This is actually literally, it's a release, and I'm not saying that it's love, but it's more in the loving manner of, like, sex is more in the loving, like, face-to-face, body-to-body, where, the release of something is, like, euphoric for both people.
Mm-hmm.
How in that, when you smoke weed, even though I've never smoked weed, sorry, I haven't smoked weed, but when you do, I've seen all my friends, it's a release where, you get to throw everything aside and just be in the moment and just chill. It just chills people out. They just relax, they lean back, and, I don't see a lot of weed smokers who are smoking weed who want to fight.
No, I'm too tired.
But yet alcohol,
Legal. Mm-hmm.
completely legal. You give a lot of alcohol to a couple of testosterone dumbass, dude bros, and they're going to be fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But, you get the same dude bros smoking weed, and then all of a sudden they're chilling. It's like the same thing. You give dude bros, a bunch of women, they may fight each other, maybe possibly over the same woman. But, if it's legalized, it's like, look, dude, just go out there, go pay for it, and, pay $20 to go get some head and just come back.
There's no shame. There's a transaction that happens. The girl walks away with business
she gets what
being
she
done.
wants.
Yeah.
And he gets what he wanted.
Now, looking at, like, the criminalization and all the criminal industries that are around and surround prostitution, does that get decreased then? Trafficking, unfortunately, will happen on some level, because what I did find is that in Amsterdam, they still have human trafficking that is surrounded by prostitution, but it is at a scale to where it's on a global scale, not as high in some areas. So it's something to look at. Like, is it looking at, all the crime that are surrounded by prostitution, does that then start to decrease then when you start legalizing it?
I don't know, but some people, they may find that, HIV spreads more, and maybe it will, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the thing is, it wouldn't spread toward, from the prostitute herself necessarily, because she's the one being monitored.
Mm-hmm.
They have to, it's just like in the porn industry where you have to, get a certain test for, after a certain amount of time.
Right. And that's what they do in, like we said, in Amsterdam, is that to keep their license as a sex worker, they have to get tested by the government.
So, from what I'm reading, is after Germany and New Zealand legalized sex work, violence against sex workers also decreased, while workers' quality of life improved. So, their quality of life improved, and, sex workers' violence decreased. Some worried about legalized sex work being more widespread sexually transmitted disease, but in reality, after testing began post-legalization in Germany, researchers discovered no difference in sexually transmitted infection rates between sex workers and the general public. So, like, it's just a fallacy for people to even think that, and they're just making it up. Now, I think I also know a reason why people don't want to do it is because biblical.
Right.
I think that religion rules the world. And, I mean, people monetize based on religion. Let's just face it. That's what they do. At some point, the criminal justice system would probably lose money if legalization of weed and prostitution went down. You wouldn't have beds to fill. You wouldn't have people posting bond as much. So you would lose a significant amount of money if it was legal, even though you would just tax the people. I mean, it makes no sense. The United States is just backwards. It's just like we were talking about the food industry, where they put sugar in everything and make you fat. It's like that. Making you fat gives you diabetes. Diabetes makes you go to the hospital. Hospitals cause a lot of bills that you have to pay, and you become bankrupt. But at least the government gets its money. It's a cycle of life in this country. And, unless we become smart enough, like some of these other countries, to, tackle it, you're just going to be a pawn in their game.
Right. We can't say that doesn't exist or, shame it. It does. So this is just an idea. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can have the conversation about it. How can this be done? Instead of just having it just only legal then in Nevada at the Bunny Ranch, what would it look like if it was legal in other places?
Exactly. Plus, guys get to, like, live out their fantasies, like banging hot chicks.
Well,
like,
and so do ladies.
Christ.
I know, and also men too.
Yeah, like, I mean, just live out your freaking fantasy and then go home. Hey, whatever happens between you and your spouse or your, that's between you two. But geez, man, make it legal.
Your husband, you just be safe about it.
Because they're gonna do it anyway. Otherwise, what? Cheating with their coworker, was that any better because they didn't pay for it? Stop. Anyway, make sure you check us out, www.zodandrea.com, to listen to every one of the podcasts just like this one. You can also go to youtube.com/ZodAndrea, where you will be able to also listen to all the audio ones as well as the video ones. So make sure you check out our European road trip so that you can see what it is that inspired us so much to want to go back.
And again, like we always invite you to participate. email us, text us, call us, join us in this conversation.
Yes, you can always do that at zod@zodandrea.com or drea@zodandrea.com. Or if you want info@zodandrea.com. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.